Great. So I'd like to call this meeting of the Hindley Homes and Royal Building Committee meeting to order on February the 26th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. First order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from our January 15th meeting, which Sarah circulated with the agenda. Could I get a motion to approve? Sarah moves. Jill seconds. All in favor? Great. Unanimous. Any members of the public? There are some folks that appear to have joined. I assume everybody here is part of the committee or the design and construction team. Chair's report. I'm not going to spend a lot of time separately on this item. We'll just jump right in. I'll turn it over to Scott and Matt to give a quick update on where things stand at each of the schools. Maybe a quick summary from the last OAC. We have another one coming up on Friday, but maybe just a quick high-level status report for folks on where things stand.
Yeah, sure. So the biggest thing that happened over the last couple of weeks was while school was out, we finished the unit ventilators at Royal and Holmes, which went very well in that time period off. That we also took advantage of having access to the entire building. So at Royal, we were able to, run conduits down the main corridors from the new electrical room over towards the addition, which is, one step closer to us getting, power into that addition. We had done some demo work that's going to be needed for future phases. We did some work up on the penthouse there at Royal as well, where we have to get some electrical equipment in there. So the access from inside the school has been removed and the floor has been infilled in there so we could start getting the electrical equipment in there. Over at Holmes, so I could stand Royal to on the additions, the storefront and glazing is going in on the GLC so that has glass actually in it. So some protections will be coming down so we can continue framing and starting, towards finishes in that area, roughing and finishes there. Drywall is progressing and taping throughout the classroom addition, and brickwork is also progressing on the exterior, as well as getting windows started to go in over there as well. So Royal's moving along. And then over at Holmes, as I said, we worked on the unit vents. That all went well. We've gotten the music room addition dried in, so we're progressing now with wiring in the music addition. That soffit detail had caused us a little bit of a delay there. I think we spoke to that briefly or a little bit in the OAC meeting, that soffit detail, but that's all moving forward now. So we've gotten over that hump. Things are back in good shape there. I feel that we'll be able to catch up fairly well there. And the classroom addition, is just moving along.
Great.
I think we finally have gotten the spandrel glass color ironed out. That happened this week, so glass will be ordered. We'll have that in a couple of weeks to go in. The curtain wall frames on the exterior of the classroom addition are installed. We are just waiting for glass on that, so that's a couple weeks out. But we've are progressing still forward inside. We're in great shape as far as the mechanicals go. They actually started painting, priming the classroom walls today. So that's moving along very nicely. And Matt, seeing you're on, I'll turn it over to you to give the Henley update.
Sure thing. So we've got the storefront windows in at the classrooms and the global learning commons with the glazing in. The storefront frames are being installed along the courtyard side of the corridors. That glazing will be installed after the frames are added there, pending approval of fritted glass on the ramp to shield from some of the sun. The mechanicals and the electricals and the plumbing have all been installed overhead and in wall. We've sheetrocked all of the walls except for some areas where we have radon piping to be finished up. Most of these walls have already been taped, and we will begin priming within the next couple weeks. What else? The electrical room has been constructed up to brick out front in the bus loop. We've got that final inspection tomorrow with the building inspector. The switchgear was installed over the break, and masonry is continuing as we speak to be finished up tomorrow.
Matt, why don't you just let everyone know what the fritted glass is in case they don't know.
Sure. So on the courtyard along the ramp that connects from the existing building to the new addition, that storefront glass is southwards facing. So the design team has us installing fritted glass there, which are small 1/8 inch white dots, and the opacity of the glass will be somewhere between 30 to 50% depending on the approval of the samples that we provide them. And it's basically just to provide some screening from the sun glaring in through the window at almost all times of the day.
And then, so thanks, Matt.
I'm sorry, was that part of the, just for everyone's benefit, was that part of the original design spec?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just elaborating a little bit because you don't often hear the term fritted glass.
Right.
And then, with Matt bringing up the electric room, one of the biggest things we've gotten over the hump over this past week was the switchgear was installed in Royal and at Henley, and all three schools are tracking to have power, have transformers dropped around April break.
Great.
So that was our
Paul
goal.
Harding, I know you had wanted to do a walkthrough to see some of the MEP installations at each of the schools. Is that something that you're able to kind of get on your calendar with these guys?
You're muted, Paul, if you're trying to talk.
Sorry, new phone. I'm still learning it. Yeah, who is any of the sites working Saturday? I'm just, starting the new job. I just don't have a lot of time to take a day off to go walk. Is anybody working Saturday?
Yeah, generally, Paul, we've got people on site on Saturday. So, if there's a Saturday and you want, reach out, you want to reach out on a Friday afternoon and say, hey, is somebody going to be around at one of the schools? We can point you in the right direction.
Okay, let me ask this. The gear's been dropped. How much of the connections are made?
The connection, the gears all put together inside the rooms, and they've all started pulling wire.
Okay. All right. I'll try to run out this Saturday to see if I can hit two of the schools in the morning. All right, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get all three. I got basketball and stuff, but let me see if I can. I'd like to try to. I want to see that front room at Henley, what they did, and I guess I'll try to see Royal too if I can see those between like 9 and 10 or
Sure.
10 and 11.
We'll reach out to you Friday and let you. Actually,
Yeah, just
will
let
you
me
be
know
on the?
if they're not.
On the
Yeah,
OAC or no?
I'll be on the OAC. Yeah, just
All
let
right,
me
so-
know if
I'll let you know
they're
what's
they're
happening.
not working. Don't Scott, don't bring anybody in on my account. Is what I'm saying. I can come
Yeah.
next Saturday.
We'll let you know what's happening at each site.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you guys very much. Then in terms of kind of material things that you see coming up in the next 30 to 60 days, Scott and Matt, what would you say are the biggest milestones coming up?
In the next 30 days, really working towards finishes of these interiors. Like I said, they've started painting at homes. Henley will be right behind that with paint, and then followed Royal will be right behind that with paint, and masonry. I think masonry on the exterior is going to be the next biggest thing you're gonna notice when you
Is that largely putting brick facing
Yep.
on the exterior?
Yep, getting the brick veneer in place.
Cool.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is just jump to the next item, just because Jill has a little bit of a limited time frame, and I wanted to go over this while she was on the phone. This is something that's going to be coming up now on a more regular basis, and that is approval of change orders. As everybody knows, we have two change order czars on the committee, Jameson and Paul, who review each proposed change order as they come out. And change orders kind of fall into two categories. Change orders fall into two categories: those that will be paid out of the owner's contingency, and then those that would paid out of either a builder's contingency or an alternate or a deduct. And based on the amount of the change of the individual change order that's proposed, Jameson and or Paul, with input if needed from Jill and me, sign off on those. Then what happens is, after a number of change orders are aggregated, after a number of proposed change orders come through and are approved in that process, and each of those proposed change orders, by the way, just so people understand it, start by being reviewed by the O&G AP team. Once they've approved it, it goes to the KG&D team. Once they've approved it, and by approval, that means in a lot of cases going back to the contractor and trying to work on the pricing and the scope, only then does it go to the change orders czars. Once a number of proposed change orders have been so approved, they're aggregated into an amendment to the guaranteed maximum price contract. And so those change orders that are slated to be paid out of the owner's contingency are aggregated into what's called a G701 change order, which is technically an amendment to the guaranteed maximum price contract for each of the schools. That change order ultimately also has to be approved by the state, because it's modifying, in some cases, the scope and also the cost of items that we're going to seek state reimbursement for. Even though each of the proposed change orders individually, the underlying proposed change orders, have been reviewed and approved by Jameson, I think it's good practice for us, the committee, because of the amounts, as they're aggregated, to review and approve the G701s at the same time we approve the monthly pay apps. The G701s will lag, and Scott and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the G701s will lag the monthly pay apps. So Dave, can you put me on mute for a second? 'Cause I think I'm feedbacking there. I think so. The G701s that we're going to talk about and vote on momentarily, those amounts are not reflected in the January pay apps that we're going to also be voting on this evening. The amounts in the G701s will be reflected in the next pay apps that we see next month. So they're tracking on a lagging basis. Now, we may or may not be getting a G701 every month, but we'll be getting them on a more regular basis, as the project proceeds. Scott and Dave, anything about that I didn't get correct?
No, that's a good recap, Chris.
I agree.
Yeah, and just one thing is that the AIA G701 does include changes that come out of the CM contingency and CM allowances, but they're a net zero cost. So we show PCOs in the AIA that are $0 because they do affect, technically they fall under the GMP, but they don't change the dollar value of the GMP because they're funded from kitties already established within it.
But the line item in the G701 that says the contract sum will be increased by the change order in the amount of, that's the amount that's coming out of the owner's contingency, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So I just think it's good practice, and I think it goes to just transparency, that as these come out, we, the committee, look at these and approve them in the same fashion that we approve the pay apps, even though the individual dollar amounts of the G701s may not be such that they reach the threshold for full committee approval. I just think it's a good opportunity for people to see them and to see the scope of the change orders. Where Jameson and Paul in particular are really in the weeds on this, this gives everybody the ability to see where this is going. Any thoughts or questions on this?
No, I was just going to say, Paul and I take the time, obviously, we go through them and we ask questions to Scott and anybody else that's pertinent to any of the changes, and Travis over at KG&D. So they're not just breezed through by Paul and I. We look at them, we ask questions, we approve them. But yeah, I agree with you, Chris. It's good for everybody to have some sort of gauge of where we are.
Yeah, and I was remiss. A thank you to Jameson and Paul for doing that, because these come out. We get notifications on the A-Connect software on a pretty regular basis. So these are coming out in a fairly steady stream. Some of them are pretty small, some of them are a little bit more, some are a little bit more complicated. But a thank you to those guys for taking that task on.
Most importantly, Scott, are we caught up? Because I checked in yesterday. It looked like everything is caught up.
You guys are caught up, yes.
All right. So
Travis
as long
has got
as
some
we don't want to
work
stop,
ahead
yeah,
of
we
him.
don't want to stop the train. We want to make sure that anything's in front of us. I'm trying to go on there, if not every day, every other day, just to make sure and look at everything.
And that brings up another point, which is that Scott and Dave produce a change order log, which is circulated as part of the monthly report that they send out. So you can see, if people take the time to look at that, you can see the extent of the change orders and where each potential change order is in its life cycle, whether it's still at the ONGAP level, whether it's at KG&D, or whether it's with Jameson and Paul, or whether ultimately it's approved and will then get rolled into the G701. Anybody else, any questions on that? Otherwise, what I would propose to do is handle these the same way we do the pay apps. And so for the first one, if I could get a motion to approve change order number 1 for the Royal Elementary School, increasing the guaranteed maximum contract sum by the amount of $57,355. If I can get a motion to approve that. Second. Sorry. All in favor? Great, passed. For frame of reference, the owner's contingency for Royal is 1.62 million, roughly. So a $57,000 increase isn't really moving the needle that much. And we'll talk about reporting in a little bit, so we'll be able to track and how we're doing against the contingency. But so far, knock on wood, we're doing quite well. Could I get a motion to approve change order number 1 for the Hindley Elementary School in the amount of $52,758? Moved, second. All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Could I get a motion to approve change order number 1 for the Holmes Elementary School in the amount of $21,388,000?
21,000.
Sorry, 21,000. Yeah. Okay. 21,388 corrected. Got to get a motion for that. Moved, second, approved. And again, for frame of reference, the Holmes owner contingency is 1.62 million and the Hindley contingency is 1.6 million. So again, I think we're doing really well against that. There are a couple larger ones coming up, but again, I think we've still got lots of cushion in that regard. On the point on reporting, we're gonna have a follow-up discussion after Friday's OAC with Tom Harris and Dave Cravenzola, and if you can join Rob Cardone as well, just to make sure that we're getting the budget versus actual reporting in a form that, in particular, Tom and Rob are happy with. And so we'll have more to talk about on that front at the next meeting. So I don't really, but it kind of goes to the topic we just were talking about, right? So we can, in particular, not just see how we're spending money on the budget, right? As we're moving ahead on the budget and we're approving each of the pay apps and progress against the budget, but also how we're doing against the owner's contingency, the builder's contingency, and how we're doing against the soft cost budget as well. So hopefully more on that at the next meeting. Next item is to discuss and approve the pay applications. Again, these are going to be the January pay applications. So the first one that we have, I'll do it in the same order as I did the G701s. The first one we have is, can I get a motion to approve pay application number 9, January 31st, 2025 for the Royal Elementary School in the amount of $1,526,437.36. Jameson moves. Can I get a second? Tom seconds. All in favor? Great. Next one is pay application for the Hindley Elementary School, pay application number 9, January 31st, 2025, in the amount of $1,126,593.55. Can I get a motion to approve that? Jameson moves. Tom seconds. All in favor? Great. Last one. Pay application number 9 for the Hindley Elementary School, for the Holmes Elementary School, January 31st, 2025, in the amount of $631,729.74. Can I get a motion to approve that? Jameson moves. Tom seconds. All in favor? Hi, Paige. You missed my monologue on change order, so I'm hurt. You'll have to listen to the recording.
Apologies. I was on a PSA
Stop.
call that ran long.
Absolutely no need to apologize. I'm just giving you a hard time. Anything else that people wish to discuss? Any questions that people have of the design team, the construction team, among the committee at large? Anything from the principals? I know you guys are back in school after a week off. Did they return your school to you in nice shape? Good.
Yes, it was excellent. And we reviewed picking colors. That's all settled out, so that's good.
Oh, that's actually a great point. I don't
Yeah.
mean to interrupt, but well, finish your thought and then I'll make sure I don't forget.
Okay. So we finalized the paint colors. We're talking now about signage, and that's something that maybe we can talk about at OAC on Friday, but rooms are often switched up and used for different purposes from year to year. Like I may have 4 4th grades this year and only 3 4th grades the following year. So one of those 4th grade classrooms might become a 3rd grade classroom. So in terms of signage, we just needed to get clear about what we wanted to put outside of the classrooms, but I don't think that's for this group. So, but otherwise, I think that's
Yeah. Cool.
where
Yeah,
I am from Holmes.
What got me to rudely interrupt Paula was I forgot to mention one other item that's in process that maybe Travis can give us a quick update on is furniture. I think we have I think we have gotten to the point now where there's agreement on what furniture is going to be acquired. Travis, maybe a quick update on kind of
Sure.
where that stands in the process and just for everyone's benefit, I think we've gone over this, but maybe just remind people how the furniture buy works on a project like this.
Sure. And then first of all, a big thank you to Paula, Natasha, and Ross and Jennifer for jumping in, we're looking at the paints and then jumping in on some really quick furniture meetings because we want to get that process finalized so we can get the order in time. So thank you very much. I know the next task is signage, and we can keep the construction team and Scott happy and moving. But you heard they're priming. So your selection is now going up on the wall. So with the furniture, we had our follow-up meeting today with the state because the state reviews them just like the construction project, because you're going for grant reimbursement there. From the beginning, it was decided when we were reviewing this with the district and with Kevin and the issues you had over at Ox Ridge, that we were going to go and use the dealer that Kevin currently works with, RH Lord. So they purchased off of state contract. So those prices are already pre-negotiated. We're not going out to bid. This is to keep it all under one roof and to make the process more efficient. And to be honest, RH Lord has been working with us for the past year on putting these furniture packages together and giving us pricing that we then present to the state. So the meeting today went pretty well. We just have some minor edits to update, send out. We have a follow-up meeting tomorrow morning with them. So if they're good with where we're at, we likely won't need another meeting. We can just email them the revisions. And then likely next week, we're hoping for an approval. There was one comment they made, and they were asking, and this is going to be a good item to follow up with. It was Patrick, right? Yeah. State asked if it was acceptable to use a sole source dealer and not shop it out to other dealers, even though it's all on state contract. So our understanding was that it is. Talking to RH Lord, it is. But we are reached out to the administrator of the state contracts over at state. They haven't returned our call yet, but I'm sure Patrick can weigh in on that because he's probably well aware. So we would like to not go out to other vendors, since this vendor's been working with us and the district is comfortable with them. And there's really not a big savings to be had because it's all on state contract.
There's some, just to clarify, there are some items that we're going to be buying that are not on state contract, right? That those are going to be bought
correct
and paid for by us.
Yeah, so there's a small quantity of pieces that aren't on state contract. It's area rugs. It's a couple of specific art pieces of furniture that I think are specific actually to the kiln, and a preferred easel. We're talking about maybe 5% of the overall value of the furniture contract. Right. So as a 20% reimbursement on that 5%, it's even a smaller value. We're talking maybe like a $8,000 reimbursement.
Yeah, just for frame of reference to level set, so people, if they don't recall this, the furniture budget is like roughly $300,000 per school. So
right.
It's real money in my world, but it's not gigantic in terms of the overall budget that we have.
Right. And to be clear again, just to remind everyone, this is new furniture for the new spaces only, for the new construction, in addition to the library/GLCs that are being renovated. Okay. So yeah, we need to get these orders in within the next week or two so we can get them here in mid-July.
The idea being, again, so people understand this, there's going to be phased delivery of the projects, right? So there's going to be a bunch of the new construction sections of the schools that are going to be delivered to the school district for the students to move into for next school year. So they need places to sit and work.
Yep.
So,
and even though, to get the best deal, you want to order all the furniture at once, even though not all the furniture will be needed yet. Like, for example, the Homes GLC won't be active yet for the new furniture. So we'll have to work on that with the dealer and with Kevin on how we store those in the meantime. But the bulk of it you're going to need, and you don't want to split the orders up because then you're not maximizing your efficiency on your costs. So that's where we are. We have that one little thing we have to make sure we're okay with on going with just a single dealer, and then we can get the purchase order going, get the information out to Lord once we have state review. And just so everyone knows, in the meantime, we're staying in contact with the dealer. They're going to start the paperwork once they kind of have the all clear that we can go with them, as we wait for the official letter from state.
Thank you,
So
Travis.
it's a quick update there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Appreciate that. Any comments or questions from the committee or others? Okay. I had nothing else. With that, could I get a motion to adjourn? Scott, Scott, are you moving to adjourn, or do you have something to say?
Oh, no, I'm not moving to adjourn. I, excuse me, I was just curious, how many of you planned on attending the, OAC meeting this Friday? Because, change order wise, I know I was gonna bring up a couple of items that we might want to, look at adding some changes to scope. I just thought I might bring it up here that I have a bigger group that I might get on the OAC, with the building committee.
If you're
We
gonna
gotta
And
be,
I'll
we gotta
show-
be a little careful. We can't have more than 4 building
Yeah.
committee members at the OAC, or it's a formal meeting. So if we want to talk about it, let's talk about it.
So over at Henley, this is not happening until 2026, but in the bus loop, the way the drawings were drawn, we're adding that whole new bus loop, but there's a very small piece at the end of the driveway that was not scheduled to be demolished and repaved, and I think we might want to get pricing to make that whole bus loop entirely new pavement. And again, if you guys are interested in doing that, we can get pricing and obviously show you the area that we're talking about. I don't think that we're talking about a lot of money. And then, over at Royal, they've got the most lawn area inside their courtyard. And they didn't know, and this would probably be a little bit more expensive than the paving I was talking about, but we were tossing around the idea of if, perhaps you guys would have interest in putting sod in as opposed to just the seed that's proposed to be put into that courtyard area. And then lastly, at Homes, and I know this idea was kind of batted around early on, and again, I don't think this is a big lift there. Getting pricing for the flooring inside of the cafeteria.
Is it otherwise there would not be any change to the flooring in the cafeteria?
That is correct.
I mean, getting it priced. I mean, unless I'm missing something, what is the downside, if any, to getting pricing for these items?
Oh,
So that we
just
can then
if you guys
consider
were like,
them.
nope, we're not even interested in that at all.
I think we should get pricing
Yeah.
for those and we can weigh it because they sound like good ideas, at least that you want to entertain.
Yeah, I mean, and then pricing, I think it would be good to know pricing, but also kind of when in the life cycle of the projects the work would be done, so we can try to gauge, how we're doing in terms of money available in our contingencies, right?
So Royal, the sod at Royal would be this summer. The flooring at Homes could be either summer, either this summer or next.
Mhm.
And the paving at Henley would be a 2026 item.
Okay. 2026, 2025.
Scott, could we potentially delay making a decision on, for example, the paving at Henley? So you say, let's see how much we have left in the contingency before we make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's not till 2020. You can delay the opinion on the flooring at Homes as well.
Yeah, that was precisely, yeah, thanks, Paige. Great point. That was precisely why I wanted to get an idea of to kind of when it would make sense to do those, because I think we're just trying to be conservative in how and when we spend money in our contingency.
So I think when we put that pricing together, we could just make sure that we get from the respective trade the last responsible moment we would need them to receive the approval to be able to either procure the materials or secure the work, and that way we can relay that to you so that
Yeah.
you have time to make that decision.
And then like worst case, we can assume some kind of escalation if we had to.
Yeah, and again, these items aren't huge. I don't think the escalation cost would be a lot as well.
Okay.
I just thought I'd bring that up. Like I said, we generally only have a few of you at the meeting, and I just didn't know. Want to get a general consensus of what everybody kind of thought of those.
No. It's good I think it's good for the group to hear this, and I think these are interesting things. There are a couple of other wanna-dos out there that we can start to as we get deeper into the project, we may want to consider as well. But certainly, let's maybe get pricing and timing on these.
Yep, sounds good.
Anything else from anybody before we move to adjourn? In that case, can I get a motion to adjourn? Rob moves. Tom seconds. All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening, and our next meeting will be March the 19th. Same bat time, same bat station.
Hey, thanks everyone.
Thanks.
See you
Talk
guys.
to you all soon. Bye
Bye.
now.
Bye, everyone.